it's just like so volatile. So, all of a sudden you're operating, you're in flow, you've got people coming, and then we're shut down, then we'll have to start again. And it just it's just really disruptive. And like I said, not the end of the world, but yeah, it's a bit like, it's kind of puts you on edge.
Today on Dirty Linen, we are heading over to Perth and we are chatting to Tania Nicolo, who is the owner of Monsterella Pizza. Now, Tania, I feel like I need some counselling from you today, because when we lined up this chat, it was going to be all about the WA lockdown and the one case that had sent the state into a spin. But in the meantime, Melbourne's had a case. Now, we're definitely not in lockdown, and I don't feel like that's on the cards. But I suppose you just get a sense of how fragile this situation is and how quickly things can change.
Oh, absolutely. That's what I was saying to Ryan today. I think that's what the worst thing is. Like, obviously 5 days lockdown is nothing compared to what, the world and Melbourne and is going through. But still, it's just like so volatile. So, all of a sudden you're operating, you're in flow, you've got people coming, and then we're shut down, then we'll have to start again. And it just it's just really disruptive. And like I said, not the end of the world, but yeah, it's a bit like, it's kind of puts you on edge.
Yeah. Well, I thought of speaking to you because previously on this podcast we've had Max Feenhausen, and I know that he's a big fan of yours. And I was just doing a little bit of a Google around and saw that you at Monsterella with your pizza were his number one recommendation for lockdown takeaway.
Yes, he's very supportive. He's very supportive. Thank you, Max.
I think we need to hear a bit about you about Monsterella and what it is, and then we'll get into the current situation and how you're all coping.
Yep. So we started Monsterella 4 years ago, or 4.5 years ago now. And Ryan, my partner, who he did a psych degree, and then he didn't want to do that. So as a joke, he opened a pizzeria like 20 years ago and then never kind of got out of it because he enjoyed it. So by the time I had met him, he had had a business for a few years, and then he had business partners, and we were always in a partnership, which we really didn't like. We wanted to get out of, and finally we did. And so we were kind of unemployed for a year looking for the perfect site for Monsterella, and we found it in like Grantham Street, so in a great little suburb in an area where, we both grew up in surrounding suburbs of Wembley, and it's just been amazing.
What's your approach to pizza? Like, why do people love it so much?
I think it's Ryan makes the dough every day. Mum goes in and makes the pasta every day. So everything is, it's done by us. It's homemade, it's authentic, it's real, So I think that's what maybe why it's so popular. And it's kind of, Ryan and I went to Naples with the kids a few years back, and I made him taste that pizza, and he was like, yeah, that's good. So we just kind of, made it our own, because obviously it can't be that doughy in Perth, people don't get it. And we, and that's it. And it just kind of was busy from day one.
Love it. So speaking of your kids, tell us about the name Monsterella.
So Mila, who's now 9, when she was about 2, she couldn't say mozzarella, so she would call all cheese Monsterella, and we were just like, oh my God, that is so good. We have to keep that in. We have to keep that for whenever we do something. So
I love
that was years before. Yeah, it was great.
I think my favourite ones from when my kids were little was Bollygettinaise.
Oh, that's great.
And Busy Water.
They're so good. And you don't want them to change because it's so cute.
Yeah. I mean, Busy Water's good because, Fizzy Water is pretty busy. So
I love Fizzy Water. My favourite with Marlo, who's 4, she calls cucumbers Cue-my-cumbers.
Oh, my God. I really want someone to cue my cumbers too.
I know, me too.
So, Tania, WA, a bit of a golden child as far as the pandemic goes. It must seem ages ago that you had lockdown number 1, and then since then it just feels, from our vantage over here, it just feels like you're just on the beach in the sunshine.
Yeah,
What's it been like?
we've been in an absolute bubble.
Yeah.
Like, it's like nothing has happened. Like, since the first lockdown, for whatever that was, a couple of weeks, 4 weeks, or since then, it's literally been, so that's why it was a bit of a shock. Everyone's like, oh, hang on, I think we all got a bit complacent. We all forgot that, what was going on in the rest of the world. And I had friends come over from Melbourne in that little window where they could, and they were like, it's a trip. Like, you guys are living here like nothing is going on.
Yeah. But in a way it wasn't. And, I mean, hotel quarantine was being managed. You had people on, merchant ships coming in with people with cases, but it was being dealt with. And it's interesting, to talk about it as being complacent. But in a sense, the complacency was appropriate to the situation, which was just that there was no virus in the community.
Yeah, exactly. So, that makes me feel better, because I definitely felt like we were just sailing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, good luck to you, But so from that amazing scenario to a lockdown, just, within, just announced on the same day, that is super full on. And, we saw, social media of the inevitable empty supermarket shelves and crowds and all that stuff. But I think the one thing that struck me was that no one had masks ready to go, did they?
No one. Although, having said that, on the Sunday when we were closed for dine-ins and we could still do takeaway, I was actually surprised at how many people had not just the hospital mask, they had, like, their own proper cotton. Yeah, so that actually was something that we noticed, how most people had, the majority didn't have hospital masks. They had ones that they'd obviously bought and been storing. So that was super interesting.
Yeah.
But, it was funny how before 6 o'clock, no one, and they were all back to back and all in each other's face. I mean, that is just really stupidity, that kind of scene, because it's like, what are you doing?
It's not ideal.
No, it's not ideal.
You just think, how many times do we have to go through this before people realise that there's going to be food, guys? You don't need to panic.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'm just thinking like this is going to be the new norm for years. Like, just having to shut down, have the restrictions, it's just going to be kind of a roller coaster is my prediction.
Do you feel like Perth's going to come out of this and hopefully the lockdown will finish as planned on Friday, also the day that this podcast comes out? Do you feel like Perth's just going to snap back to the way things were, or do you feel like there will be a little bit more caution?
No, I think that I think like last time it was a bit eerie last time, because obviously we could only have half the amount of people in everywhere. So it was kind of, it was a bit weird. But I think that, I just think that they'll do that restrictions again for 2 weeks, the 2 metre square rule, and then we'll go back to normal. But, whatever that is, I don't know.
Yeah.
We just don't know.
Yeah, we don't know. And it's interesting because you had one case and you were locked down, and the reason was that there was a fear that it was the incredibly contagious UK strain. Yeah. We had one case that was announced, and that was similarly, there was the fear that it was this very contagious strain. But we didn't lock down. And I mean, it's funny, like, do you look at what's happened in Melbourne this week and think, why didn't Melbourne go our way, or why didn't we go Melbourne's way?
Yeah, I think I have to kind of give props to Mark McGowan, because I feel like he's handled it well, because we have just literally been trading as per normal. Like, we've had growth, been busy, it's been amazing. So I'm kind of down with whatever he thinks is right. I'm okay with that.
Yep.
But, I mean, a couple of our friends from over east are like, well, one case and you shut down, that's a bit extreme. But I don't know. I think he's dealt with it well from the beginning. So, let them do what they do.
Yeah. Yeah, interesting. I guess in Melbourne we've had a recent experience with dealing with a cluster and getting on top of it. So my feeling is that it would have been too extreme to lock down here, because, we've we've dealt with worse. And we're just a couple of days of potential transmission. So hopefully we're going to do a WA and just get a rolling a week ahead of zeros, and we can relax a little bit, but not completely.
You guys have you've really copped it.
Yeah, I think when I was sitting on Twitter waiting for the Premier to speak on Wednesday evening, and there was a lot of anxiety around, and I feel like everyone in Melbourne's got a little bit of post-traumatic stress disorder, and we can get triggered pretty easily.
It's totally understandable. And that's the thing, you don't want to be, there's people with much greater, problems and issues, like you think about those fires now. So those guys in the middle of this now, they've lost their houses. So you want to keep things in perspective, but it still keeps you on edge. It's very, even at the thought of having to homeschool 3 children again, I mean, even that is enough to give me, heartburn.
Homeschooling is very challenging. The fires, how are the fires going right now?
Well, I'm not sure. I haven't read today. I think it's still 71 houses that were lost, but on the other, what day was it? It was a really warm day, and we were doing, I think it was Monday, and I was doing work with Maxie, and we just saw all this ash fall in our backyard, and we are a long way from the fires. And there was ash, covered our car, covered the furniture outside. It was insane.
Yeah, that really gives me shivers because, a year ago we were very much in the thick of our fires over here in the east, and the thought of dealing with fires and a pandemic concurrently is just a little bit too much to think about.
It's full on.
Yeah, it's definitely been a blessing this summer that we haven't had the same conditions that we had last year. And, I don't think obviously no one's really got over the 2020 fires. And
no way.
Yeah, it's a tricky one.
Yeah.
So what do you think, let's hope that you've done your lockdown, you're going to come out of it and you can just get on with 2021. Pandemic aside, what do you think are some of the issues for hospitality? What are the things that, give you and Ryan, keep you up at night having conversations about? What are the things that people are talking about in the industry?
I think, when I've spoken with other owners and stuff, it's definitely staff. Like everyone's got, we're lucky at Monsterella, we've got key staff that we've had for a long time, and we've got a couple of boys on visas, so they're not going anywhere. But like without the borders open, we're not getting internationals. Like, so those casual staff that, kind of tick over every 6 months, like that's just gone. And lots of venue owners that I've spoken to, that's our main conversation, is just staff.
Do you think that there's a way to get young Australians more interested in hospitality?
I mean, we're trying. So we've got like a cohort of, because we do delivery as well, so we've got a cohort of young local boys who work for us. So we're, that's our next thing. We're like, yep, let's train up those boys. The thing in our industry in particular, that those Italians that come over, it's just in their blood. It's what they do, It's not like, I don't know, that's what they do over there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's not like they're going to uni to become engineers or accountants. They just work. So it's just a bit more natural and, I don't know, than our boys. But that's what we're talking about doing now. We're like, we need to start training the drivers up. We need to get the fast twitch ones, and they need to learn how to make pizza.
And how will you sell it to them?
Oh, we're just one little one. We're just starting, Charlie. He's got 4 years of uni, so we're just thinking we're going to teach him how to do everything, because we're kind of, I need someone. Sometimes I need someone at the front. Sometimes we need someone at the back doing pizza. So he's just going to be a little all-rounder. So, yeah, he's cool. You pick the right one, and they just do what you ask them.
But it's like we need to change the whole culture where it's not, is it just money? Like, is it just that a pizza chef needs to be paid the same as an engineer? And, I'm sure some of them are, or is it somehow about the prestige of the industry that somehow has to be elevated?
Oh, that's a tricky question because the young ones, I'm not sure. The young ones, they don't, it's like they don't really like working the nights. They don't, I guess they haven't even thought that could be an option.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? It's like
It
you
is
can't just
interesting.
snap change it, can you? It's something that's, as you say, for the Italians that you see, that they probably always thought that was an option. It's not something they need to be talked into.
No, that's right. Whereas these boys, they're all, obviously because it's in a more affluent suburb, so they're starting to be engineers, lawyers, doctors. That's what they're doing. Like, so it wouldn't even, I don't think that would ever even be on their radar.
What about for yourself? Like, did you surprise yourself by falling into a pizza restaurant?
No, not really. I was in retail for my younger years. But we've always entertained, and food is like just huge. So that was really a natural progression for us, or for me anyway. Absolutely. I just feel completely at home there.
Wow.
I couldn't imagine doing anything else.
Isn't that wonderful? That's so great to feel like lucky. you've really found your place.
Yeah, it's definitely lucky.
And tell us about your mum's pasta.
So she's been cooking and making pasta since she was 8. So she came from a big family, so she would always help my nonna. So she always has just done that. So she's like, when I've gone to ask her if I can help, because she's 74, and I'm like, let me help you so I can kind of learn. And she's like, oh, no. no, you're like a cyclone, so this job is not for you.
I love it. Have you done a pasta granny style video with her?
I've done heaps, actually. I haven't posted on Pasta Grannies. I was just thinking that the other day I should do it, but then she might get offended because I don't think she thinks she's a granny like those ladies.
Well, yeah, some of them are in their 90s.
So I have to wait a couple of years, I think, before I post it. But, I've got heaps of videos and photos and footage of her.
Beautiful. If anyone hasn't looked up Pasta Grannies on Instagram, you've got to have a look at it. It's just the most – I just can fall into it. You just it's a different kind of meditation. I just absolutely love it.
And it is meditation. You're absolutely right, because they've been doing that, Dani, for like forever. Yeah, that's all they do.
It's those, the hands just know, and I just love watching it. It's just real. It's the true artisan magic that you can see there.
It is.
All right, so I don't know if you deliver to my postcode in Melbourne, Tania, but if I was to put in an order for dinner tonight, what would you recommend for me?
Well, our most popular pizza is the Miliano, which is pork and fennel sausage, caramelised onion, oregano, pecorino, buff mozz. But I would just order a buffalina with anchovies, Ortiz anchovies, a carbonara, hand-cut pappardelle carbonara, and a salad.
Yes.
That's it.
Great. Bring it over. Any time that suits you is fine for me.
I would really love that, actually.
I'm too scared to travel interstate at the moment, but when I feel the urge and the confidence, I'll come over and have exactly that order at Monsterella.
Okay, do it.
I'm going to. Thank you so much. Good luck getting out of lockdown, and wish you all the best for the months to come. Thanks for chatting, darling. Tania. Really appreciate it. Love. All right.
Okay, bye.
Take care. This is Dirty Linen, and I'm Dani Valent. We air the issues that the hospitality industry finds hard to talk about. We spend a week thrashing around each issue, hearing from different people with unique perspectives. We want to hear from you as well. If you have something that needs to be said about a topic, get in touch so we can include your perspective. Contact us at dirtylinen@deepintheweeds.com.au or hit us up on Insta at Dirty Linen Podcast. We can't wait to hear from you.
This is a Deep in the Weeds production.
It's a really tricky one because, from a government point of view, I can